Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. The scenery has changed, if you can see. We are at my friend's place, Pear Tree Ranch down here in Florida. And this morning, a friend has asked for some help trailer loading. They've been wanting to come up here and take some lessons with Jake, but they got a horse that having trouble getting into the trailer. Actually, I think the horse goes in, but it doesn't stay in. It comes out before they can close the divider. So I'm gonna grab some tools from the tack room here. Sun's just coming up, beautiful morning, and we're gonna head over and see if we can't help him with loading his horse. All right, so we'll see you guys there. So I'm here with Dave, and he's invited me to come out and help him with trailer loading your lease horse. So this is a horse that you guys are borrowing. Yes. And you're wanting to take the horse to Jake's for some lessons.
Shout out to Jake.
Shout out to Jake, Pear Tree Ranch. But you're having trouble getting the horse in. So can you tell me a little bit about what's kind of been going on?
Well, my background is Pirelli, level 4, and I've had no trouble in my life trailer loading. I've had challenging horses, but it's always gone very well. This horse has me stumped. He's very difficult. He has a lot of quirky behaviors, and what's been happening is I've tried every method that I knew, and we try feeding him, and when there's food in the trailer, he'll waltz on like nobody's business. But when it's my idea, he's absolutely refused. He'll stop here. He won't go forward, and I almost feel to the point where I'm getting too rough on him, and I don't want to go down that road.
And so even with food, can you put him in with food and shut the divider and haul him?
No, I can't. I can't bring the divider over. The divider's slid open, so it's a bigger access. But no, I haven't been able to get him down that chute yet.
Okay, and can you just tell us a little bit about the horse?
He's a thoroughbred. He's an off-the-track thoroughbred. He's 9 years old, and he's got a lot of strange behaviors. Okay. But he's generally a very smart horse, and he seems like he's a fairly affectionate horse. But he's got a streak in him that when he says, I'm not doing it, okay, he's pretty sure he won't do it.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point. You know, I know Dave has a lot of experience with horses, and he's a pretty accomplished horseman. But the interesting thing is, if you had 1,000 horses and you have to trail load them or teach them something, it can go differently. And it can be very different, especially based on different horses' learned behaviors. Not so much that the horses change, you know, that the horses are all so different. It's mostly what they learn in their previous experiences before we try teaching them something new, especially race horses. Race horses go through a pretty intensive get to the racetrack program. Yes. And then even once they're going into the racing, the alleyways they have to walk through and the commotion and the starting gate and getting hauled, and a lot of them don't have a lot of preparation. Some of them do have really good preparation, everything in between. But my experience with race horses is a lot of them are pretty unique in the challenges that they present. So I think it'll be interesting to find out what we got here.
I'm very excited about it.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch, Dave's going to show me what he's been doing. I want to see if there's anything we can adjust in his technique or presentation about the trailer. And we'll take a look at that, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right.
Drive. Do you know I'm looking, and I can't help but smile? Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along, and I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here?
All right, so a couple things that I just want to talk about with trailer loading. Oh, you like to nip a little bit, huh? What's his name?
Brother.
Brother? Okay. All right, bro. So a couple things I want to talk about with strategies that were used. So food is a common one that people ask questions about. You know, do you use food or not to use food? And to me, it's not as simple as making it black and white of should you or shouldn't you. There's nothing wrong with using food like, you know, sometimes when I'm hauling horses, we put their food in the trailer because we need them to, they're going to be on the road for many hours and they need to eat. And, you know, if the horse is comfortable in the trailer, the food is a positive thing then to add to it. Now, what you have to understand is food is pretty surface level. In other words, if a horse is nervous or distracted, food doesn't matter. They'll go off food. And you guys probably experienced that with your horses, where if they don't feel good, they won't eat their grain. And maybe it's an indication even that horse is a little off that day. If they're distracted, maybe they won't drink. A lot of us are aware that horses won't drink very well when they're being hauled, and it's because the food, they're a little bit concerned and they're uncomfortable, so food doesn't matter. Maybe you've even experienced that yourself, where if you're a little stressed or nervous and you go, holy wow, I haven't ate all day long, you know, but it's because we're really distracted. So food can work as a motivator for the right horse's personality, and if the horse is very comfortable in the trailer. For this horse, I mean, I think the food does matter to him a little bit, but I think overall we saw him get a little nervous about his hind feet being on the trailer. So I think it's that full commitment. And this is a fairly small trailer, and so if we brought a big old stock trailer here, that would be easier, right? So we have to recognize that some trailers are easier to haul in than others. So if we rated them, like if you said a stock trailer that's 7 or 8 foot wide, 20 feet long, that's going to be like a 1 level of difficulty, right? That's going to be pretty easy to get a horse into. If you said a trailer like this with a ramp, straight load, and just a relatively small trailer, that's probably like a 7 or 8 difficulty, right? Maybe a single horse trailer would be a little harder or something, but it is a more difficult situation. And so that just means the horse has to be a little more prepared, and they got to be a little more comfortable to be able to get it done. You could kind of make something happen in a different situation. I like the strategy Dave was using. What you guys wouldn't have heard in the video is he asked me a question. The horse was kind of in this gray area of he's thinking about going on, but he's not fully committed. You know, what do we do here? And I try not to make any rules, and I say the horse, you have to do this or you don't have to do that. But there are scenarios where if the horse has a lot of brace to the halter, when they're here, I might ask them and say, hey, will you try for me when we get to this? And I'll kind of sign them up to that. Even though I know they might not give me the right response right away, I will ask them to commit and give me a try. Then there's other times where, see here, I'm going to ask for a little try. He gave me a try. The hind foot moved, so I'm going to release there. Then there's other times where you'd be better off, and this is what I would usually do, is I'm going to retreat off the trailer, okay? Now, the important thing is when we retreat off the trailer is now we're on what I call hot lava. Okay, so now we got to make this a little more uncomfortable over here. We're not working the horse, we're just making it uncomfortable here, putting a little pressure on them to make the trailer, which is what the horse feels pressure at now, more like relief. Okay, so that's part of the key. But there's one little step I'm going to add for this horse because of how antsy he got with his hind feet. He was kind of stepping up and down here. I'm going to send him back and forth over the divider to see, or the ramp, sorry, to see how comfortable he is with that. So we'll go ahead and push him around over here. And I want to see if he'll just, without going in the trailer, if he'll walk across the ramp and put all 4 feet. So he kind of avoided the back feet there. So now when he scooted past it, I just put a little pressure on him with the stick. He crowded me again. So I'm going to put a little pressure on them. So I'm putting pressure on him when he avoids the ramp. No pressure on when he's facing the ramp. And the idea behind this is just getting him a little bit more comfortable with putting those hind feet on the ramp without having to go in the trailer. And I think there's arguably pros and cons about ramps. You know, some people feel like they're safer. I have one trailer with a ramp. I have one without. I don't know that I would ever buy a trailer with a ramp on purpose. But if they have one on, you know, you just kind of work with it. You know, if the conditions are slippery outside the trailer, it's kind of nice for them to have that ramp to ease off the trailer a little easier. But I do feel like it almost adds an extra step to trailer loading, the fact that they have to get on the ramp before they go in the trailer. When there's no ramp, they kind of just have to commit and cross that threshold, almost like a horse crossing a creek or a ditch. Like they get to that point of no return where it's like, okay, now we're on. And so the ramp, it creates this like gray area where they're not necessarily committed. So I'm just tapping him with the stick there because he chose to not go over the ramp and he chose to crowd through my space. There, it was a little better. Okay. And then when I'm putting pressure on over here, his nose is facing over there and he's away from the trailer, and that's where pressure's coming on. And that's what makes the timing just so that the trailer is where the relief is. That was better. Very good. So no pressure with the stick on that time because he fully crossed the ramp. So I got a little tap there because he chose to avoid the ramp a little bit. Now, the other thing that is happening indirectly is we're building a little bit more correct response to me leading with the halter and then adding pressure with the stick. Now, you guys can see that evoked a lot of response from him. So I'm going to keep the pressure on there until he came forward. So yeah, you can see there's a little bit of history there with the halter. Good. And so when you get a bit of a reaction or explosion like that, what was important is that I just kept a little pressure on and kept him uncomfortable until he went forward and gave. Because when I tapped him with the stick over there, he squirted forward, he hit the halter, and then he ran backwards. And so his thought was backwards. So I had to keep pressure on until he came forward. It didn't really matter exactly how I did that. I just had to keep it uncomfortable until he thought forward. Now he's getting relief. So I just sat here, letting him process what just happened, which is another really important note. A lot of people, if they have to get a little bigger with a horse and be effective, they then want to power through and go right back to the trailer, right wherever. Right now, that wasn't about the trailer. That was about there's a reaction under the surface there. And Dave kind of indicated to me, you kind of felt that was in there, you know, where if you were to get a little bigger with him, it would kind of evoke that. And, you know, not trying to, but if we need to, if that's just going to happen with going over the ramp, it's better to do that now than in the trailer. But anytime you got to get a little bigger, you have to remember to give that horse a chance for some soak time where they get a chance to process what just happened. And now if he were to look away quickly or something like that, then I'd go, okay, soak time's over. But there's a chemical change that happens in their body when they're in this processing time. And so he licked and chewed, which means he switched nervous systems. And when they're a little bit stressed, they have stress hormones being released like cortisol, and that makes them feel kind of yucky. When they get relief for doing the right thing, they actually have a chemical called dopamine being released that makes them feel really good. Just like us when we get a nice message from somebody or a bite of chocolate, right? We have a little dopamine release, and that's what our minds or bodies crave more of. And so that's when we say the horse is getting relief for coming forward, that's all these different things are happening. So we got to give them time for all that to play out. Now we'll just go back to the trailer, try again. So he's kind of sort of crossing the ramp sometimes, but he's not fully committed to this. But I can use this to kind of prepare him for the trailer. There we go. That was better. Now he actually went towards the trailer like, can we just go back in it? Because that actually was a little easier than doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and offer that to him now and see if he wants to go ahead and try out that trailer. I'm not going to let him hang out here because he's been hanging out here quite a bit. And so I'm going to ask him to get more committed. There we go. So yeah, there's definitely a bit of a pullback deal in there. And that is the underlying issue that makes this less about the trailer and more about the yield.
A few moments later.
Do what? Close your horse in the divider? Now, I am being quiet and kind of sneaky here, but with as much progress as he's made, you hate to just blow him up right at the... I do? Sure? I'm curious what he'll do once he backs up and feels the divider. But the horse is in the trailer. Well, that one went better than I thought. So he was ready. Well, do you want me to put the front one up? And we'll do this, because this is great. We can do this again at Jake's house. Why not? So, why don't you get your horse out, your other horse out, and whatever. And then I'm going to put the front one up. Hope you're enjoying this video. If you want to see the full unedited version, make sure you go and check out my Patreon page. It's $10 a month. I post a lot of content on there. It's really great value. It really helps me continue making these videos for you guys. So if you want to support me on that, it's patreon.com/Ryan Rose Horsemanship. I'll leave a link in the description. We would love to see you guys on there. And let's get back to the video. I mean, she's standing nice and settled. And yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure. If we were creating a nightmare right now, I'd be like, we need to just keep doing the trail loading sessions. But he's in there calm, and you know what I mean. I thought, well, it could go either way, but it went the right way. So apparently this stuff works. Okay, so we got the horse in, and I was just telling Dave, maybe this is a good spot to quit. I thought as soon as I started fussing with the butt bar that horse would get worried, or once the butt bar was up, I thought maybe the horse would get panicked in the trailer, but it stood perfectly still. And so our goal today is for them to be able to finally haul their horses up, get a lesson with Jake. And what's great is that's where I'm about to go, and I got some horses to ride right now. And so after their lesson, we can take our time. We can do this loading training session again after a nice day of some beautiful weather and riding the horses around. And so I think that recipe fits really well, and then Dave will be able to continue this training program starting tomorrow. So we're going to do that. We're going to get hauled over to Pear Tree Ranch, and we'll pick you guys up there. So what is your reaction here, Dave?
I'm gobsmacked. That was amazing. I could see that you identified the particularities of this horse right away and dealt with it by going across the ramp and doing the backwards, because we've had the horse now 2.5 months, and we've noticed that going up and going backwards violently is his trick.
Okay.
And we've been working with it out there, and it's been going well, but not well here. So you identified them very, very quickly, and that was a beautiful job. Very nice job.
Awesome. So that really wasn't as much about trail loading as it was, because that horse would actually go in the trailer with feed and stuff, but not when we asked. So it was actually more about that horse yielding to pressure. And, this video is a little more PG-13. We had to put a little more pressure on. Yes. But I think I would rather share with you guys real life what we're doing. This is real life. They've been wanting to haul these horses up to get lessons. They couldn't haul them up because this horse wouldn't commit to going in the trailer. And now we got a good program for it, and we're going to have more fun now.
There could be an emergency someday, and he'd rather have him in there getting to a vet than not. Or
that lead rope could get caught on something somewhere, or that pullback. I mean, there's just a million reasons why you don't really want to leave that in there anyways. Even if you're like, I'm never hauling this horse anywhere, we got a vet on site, it's like still, you just don't want to leave some of those bracy spots in there. So, all right. Excellent. Well, let's head up to Jake's, and we'll catch up with you there.
Perfect.